Welcome back. As promised, let's get chatting with the management of Greenpanel Industries. We have with us V. Venkatramani, who's the CFO of the company, joining us. Thanks a lot, Mr. Venkatramani, for joining in. You know, the third quarter was a bit of a problem with regards to domestic volumes and export realizations on the MDF business. Just wanted to understand how the fourth quarter so far has panned out. Have we seen some sort of improvement from what the situation was in December? And what kind of projections can you have for this quarter and the next year?
Good morning. The third quarter, as you mentioned, was impacted by lower domestic volumes. We saw a growth of around 7% in domestic volumes and significant drop in export realizations. And there was also one more significant factor. We had suffered significant currency losses of approximately 17 crores in the third quarter. So if you look at Q4, I think we should see better volumes in the MDF business, although the growth proportion would probably be in export volumes, which is not a very profitable business for us. And but I think the markets are holding up quite well, considering the significant increase in import volumes.
Okay. So what would that mean, sir, for your MDF realizations? Because in the previous quarter, your domestic realizations were higher by around 10.5%, but export was down over 11%.
That's correct. So the domestic realizations are still holding up. There's not been any cut in domestic realizations, although we have seen some further fall of approximately 5% in export realizations. But domestic realizations are holding up since, demand has been good even in the current quarter.
So net, are we expecting lower realizations in Q4?
No. As far as the domestic business is concerned, realizations will be flat.
Right. So, no, just wanted to understand, the fourth quarter, you said volumes will be led by exports. So if you could give us a sense, in the third quarter, 78% of your volumes were domestic, 22% was exports. You said that exports have lower realizations. We've seen that as well, and that has declined by 5% further. So what kind of volumes are you targeting in the fourth quarter? How much of that would be export-led? How much of that would be domestic? And what would the blended realizations quarter on quarter look like?
So if you look at Q4, we should be doing volumes of approximately 135,000 cubic meters, and the mix should be somewhere around 70% domestic and 30% exports. And like I mentioned, domestic realizations will continue to be flattish, and export realizations have seen further fall of approximately 6%. So I think that will have some marginal impact on blended realizations, although I'm unable to give you the figure right now. But we will see a small drop in blended realizations.
That due to your margins as a whole?
Excuse me?
What would that do to your margins, sir? You did around 25% in 9 months. Are you expecting lower margins, possibly because of maybe flattish realizations?
Yeah, we should see slightly lower margins in quarter 4. So due to two factors. One, the export mix is higher in this quarter as compared to quarter 3. Quarter 3, I think, was about 79% domestic and 21% exports. Whereas this quarter, we are expecting about 70% domestic and 30% exports. And there's been further increase in raw material costs, which we have not been able to pass on. So there would be some impact on EBITDA margins.
So what does all of this do to your FY24 guidance that you had given, 10 to 12% domestic volume growth, or rather overall volume growth with 24 to 25% margins? Because just after Q3, you gave the FY24 guidance. Thereafter, you've said that there has been some more pressure on input cost side. So do we see further downside to your FY24 guidance right now for both volumes as well as margins?
I think we should do volume growth of about 12 to 15% next year. And maybe, margins should be around the same levels as the current year. Where overall, I think we should have EBITDA margins of around 25-26% for the MDF business. So we should do a similar EBITDA margin next year with higher volumes in both domestic and export.
Just quickly before we let you go, just two numbers I wanted. What's the capacity utilization you're targeting next year in both MDF and the plywood business?
I think we should be doing about 84-85% capacity utilization in MDF and approximately 80% in plywood.
Okay. All right. So we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us. So that's Greenpanel. We need to take a short break, but here's a quick programming note. Tomorrow on the 14th of March, CNBC-TV18 will be hosting what will be India's largest summit on gender parity in Delhi. Women leaders from all walks of life will